Welcome back, everyone. Nathurow's back on the scene, and I know, it's been a while. I've been very busy and distracted with the holidays here and whatnot, but I finally found some time to sit down and react to another Countryballs video. And this one is a complete history of World War I in Countryballs by Freezepond. I know some of you in the comments have been asking me to react to some World War I and World War II stuff, so I thought I'd give this one a shot. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started.
The year is 1914. This nice and clean map of Europe has a lot more dirt than you might think it does, and it's only going to get messier from here. So what is going on now, what was going on before, and what is going to happen later? Spoilers, a fight breaks out and destroys a good chunk of everybody.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
So let's look back a little bit before the year 1914 and the year 1912. The region in Southeast Europe known as the Balkans was always a hot mess. Let's look at one kingdom here, Serbia. This one, as of now, fairly small kingdom has an undying urge to expand. When they failed in taking a region with a high population of Serbs, Bosnia, they looked south. And what is actually south of them? Just a ton of their Christian pals that are waiting to escape the Muslim Empire. This is the Ottoman Empire, who doesn't have a very good reputation with the rest of the gang here, so everybody has a little bit of a score to settle with them. The four kingdoms of Bulgaria, Greece, Serbia, and Montenegro band together, and the Balkan League is assembled, ready to take the Ottomans out of Europe, and on October of 1912, they begin their attack. To say the very...
Okay, so about that, when I was reacting to the Countryballs and Serpello thing about the Ottoman Empire, I had mentioned that when some of the other Balkans went to war with Bulgaria, that one was called the Balkans War, but it turns out that the one that they're talking about right now is considered the first Balkan War, well, when they're fighting the Ottoman Empire, and then when they went to war with Bulgaria, that was considered the second Balkans War. So that cleared up some confusion on my end. I didn't know that the one where they fought against the Ottoman Empire, they referred to that as the first Balkans War, and then the one with Bulgaria, that's considered the second one. Okay, so good stuff.
At least, this did not end well for the Ottomans. All four kingdoms took a nice chunk of land with them, and now there's an independent state, Albania. Even though massive gains were made on the Balkan League side, the largest and most powerful kingdom, Bulgaria, was not pleased with their share of a region known as Macedonia to the people who live there, and former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia to the people who don't live there. Bulgaria invades their former best friends in June of 1913. We'll fight for this land that was rightfully ours, and we should be remembered for it. Victory belongs to us, the people of Bulgaria. They failed and gave up in a month. So now we have a collapsing empire trying to survive. One kingdom displeased with their war profits. One kingdom attempting to unite all Serbs, but a bit north of them. A huge empire who is still holding Bosnia, full of Serbia's people. Everyone get mad, because Serbia isn't stopping. In late June of 1914, a Serbian nationalist by the name of Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria.
You know, I feel like not a lot of people mention that. Of course, like, the whole assassination thing is always mentioned as, like, what triggered the First World War, but it had all been brewing already with, like, the previous Balkan Wars. So, like, there was the Balkan Wars 1, and then 2, and then that kind of just paved the way for, you know, World War I, which is, like, basically a continuation of the Balkan Wars, but that just spread out to, like, the rest of Europe and other parts of the world. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. Anyway.
A month later, war breaks out between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. Directly after, Russia declares war on Austria-Hungary for declaring war on Serbia. Afterwards, Germany declares war on Russia for declaring war on Austria-Hungary for declaring war on Serbia. Second to lastly, France declares war on Germany for declaring war on Russia for declaring war on Austria-Hungary for declaring war on Serbia. Now finally, UK declares war on Germany and Austria-Hungary because that's what friends do. So,
well, I would say the main reason that Britain ended up going into the war was because Belgium got attacked. Like, that was the final straw that caused the UK to enter the war. But
let's get started. France and Germany weren't at good terms even before this war began. As a result, their direct border was heavily guarded, but Germany didn't exactly plan on playing by the rules. Since going under, over, or through the border wasn't an effective option, why not just go around it? Following this train of thought is exactly what Germany did. In early August of 1914, Germany...
Oh, that's true. Luxembourg was also invaded. It's a really small country to the south of Belgium. Now that I think about it, were the Netherlands also invaded in World War I? I know they were in World War II, but I can't remember if they were in one. Maybe they'll mention it right now. And if not, let me know in the comments as usual.
They went on to attack through Luxembourg and Belgium in order to get to France. While their initial attack was effective, they stopped advancing by September and found themselves locked in a stalemate. Both sides dug trenches and stopped moving until late March of 1917. So as the British might say, let's skip across the pond for a moment to see how the US is doing. Attempting to stay neutral, they just see this war as a distant tragedy that shouldn't involve them in any way, but now they're feeling a bit bad for Belgium, who got trampled on by German troops.
Oh gosh. Oh, Canada was like Canada was like really scared up there. So the reason why Canada was like that was because since the UK joined the war, the other Commonwealth countries like Canada and Australia, and I think New Zealand too, along with other ones, ended up joining the war. I'm not 100% sure if they joined immediately when the UK declared war, but it was shortly after, at the very least. So the United States was like, oh yeah, we're neutral, and Canada was like, well shit, no, I have to fucking go in there. Yeah. Anyway.
Because of this, Herbert Hoover, who would later become the president of the US, organized the Commission for Relief in Belgium, where supplies needed for a living that generally most Belgians did not have at this point were brought to them. Other than this, however, the US was having a jolly okay time taking stuff over in the Pacific like the rest of the Europeans would have. So, with that being said, things in the Americas are pretty calm as of now. Now let's go back to Europe to look at Serbia and Austria-Hungary and what they're up to. Nothing. For the first entire year of the war, very few advances had occurred between Serbia and Austria-Hungary. Even though these two were at each other's throats during the first couple of days, Austria-Hungary's priority changed quickly as Russia started gnawing on their eastern border. The front lines here were back and forth. Germany and Austria-Hungary only began making significant gains after a counteroffensive took place during May of 1915. Now, who are we forgetting about? The Ottomans, of course. Let's not forget about the Ottomans who joined the war on the 29th of October 1914. They were just a tad late to the party, but they stayed up until the very end. Upon their arrival, they were met with a quick 2x4 to the back of their head, also known as an invasion. Whatever you want to call it, it was quickly repelled by mid-November. The Ottomans went a bit further and decided to attempt to invade Russia in midwinter, but just like before, this attack was repelled the next month. The Ottomans were not entirely happy with this move. On top of an empire that is collapsing due to problems with ethnic diversity, now they have a bruised military force and can't fight as well on foreign soil. So, like any logical thinker of the 1480s, they walked right into ethnic Armenian territory and proceeded to do things that would probably get my video blocked in modern-day Turkey, thank you very much. Now, as of May of 1915, let's take a look at the standings. Russia and the Ottomans are running into a stalemate. Serbia and Austria-Hungary are still at a stalemate, and Germany and France have not moved at all. But now Germany is advancing into Russian territory faster than before.
And he wrote trenched there. Okay, so I know trench warfare is a very well-known and popular theme in World War I, but in case anybody who's watching this who doesn't know what that is, so each opposing side would dig their own trenches, and in the middle of the trenches was something called no man's land. And soldiers would put like rows of barbed wire, or they would make mounds in order to try and gain a foothold in no man's land and try to take over the other trench. But a lot of the times what would happen is each side would mount a machine gun on there, and anyone who would try to cross, they would just get gunned down immediately. So it was really difficult for soldiers to advance during the trench warfare. Also, the conditions in those trenches were freaking terrible. There was all kinds of like diseases and sickness that would go on, and people were like starving, and they were just putting up with terrible conditions. But he actually might cover it, so let's see.
Between May and October, Germany had entirely captured the Duchy of Warsaw and is making quick moves into Russia's Baltic holdings. Just as things have really started to heat up between Germany and Russia, Serbia is seeing their last couple of months in this war. On the other hand, the US is getting really mad about Germany sinking their favorite boat, the Lusitania. The US is starting to reconsider being neutral in this conflict, and this is about the second to last straw they can hold before it breaks their back.
Epic foreshadowing.
So remember Bulgaria? Yeah, Bulgaria remembers Bulgaria. On October 14th of 1915, the previously mentioned Bulgaria, who was still disappointed about the outcome of the last Balkan War, decided to take the opportunity of seeing Serbia completely vulnerable and invaded in cooperation with Austria-Hungary. Within 2 months, Serbia was destroyed. Bulgaria made off with a good chunk of their land, but Serbia wasn't entirely finished. So I hope you were following before, because I'll warn you, it only gets more confusing from here on out. Within the last couple of days, Serbia's army evacuated into neighboring Albania and Greece and continued fighting from there. So, with mainland Serbia defeated, the war should end, right? Well, unfortunately, no. Europe has already turned into a melting pot of chaos, and they're not showing any sign of stopping. Everyone had done enough to piss each other off, it seems, and now they all have a score to settle. A score they can only settle with more... A lot more blood is to be bled, so let's keep bleeding, shall we? Ever since the defeat of Serbia, things have slowed down until April, when Russia decided to drop a few more 2x4s on the Ottomans' heads.
Damn.
And then in June, Russia took back land from the Germans. Making a bit of a comeback, Romania joined the Allies in late August of 1916 and invaded Austria-Hungary. It went nicely until September, when Bulgaria attacked from the south, diverting Romania's attention. Romania was fought out of Austria-Hungary through October, and through the next 3 months proceeded to steamroll.
Oh, shit. Damn. Okay, so yeah, that was a good point that he touched up on. So when he mentioned that each country did enough to piss the other off, you know, a lot of the times that does happen in large-scale wars, ones that affect multiple countries. Like, even if the initial event that caused the war is resolved in one way, shape, or form, a lot of the times, like, it evolves into something else, something much bigger. Like, for instance, if two countries have like a long history of disputed territory or something like that, something else that triggers a war and then causes them to go into conflict in the future, that brings up old conflicts from the past. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like, even though that conflict had nothing to do with what started this conflict, like, it becomes, you know, a new reason to continue the war. So, and the fact that this conflict pretty much got all of Europe and like other parts of the world involved, yeah, like, it's not surprising that it didn't stop for a good while.
So besides Romania being steamrolled and the fact that this is a war, of course, things are actually getting pretty quiet. This relative silence would all be ruined when Germany decided to poke the US with a stick once again. On January 19th of 1917, Germany attempted to send a telegram to Mexico, but the message was intercepted by the UK and was forwarded to the US. This was known as the Zimmerman telegram. Germany, who was afraid of the US becoming too powerful, wanted something to distract the US from Europe. In this telegram, Germany essentially said, "Hey Mexico, if you want to help me destroy the US, I'll help you get your land back from that war you had." Of course, Mexico's never getting a say in this since the US received the telegram before Mexico did. Too bad for Germany, who's trying to reach out to make a new friend, because after receiving the telegram, the United States declared war on Germany.
Oh, damn, with the shotgun.
So now while the US is gearing up for battle, Europe is just now thawing out from doing pretty much nothing all winter.
Okay, so there's actually like a conspiracy theory that some people think that the British fabricated that telegram in order to get the United States to join in the war, but that's pretty far-fetched. There hasn't been any solid proof of that. Also, when it came to the shotguns, they were considered very effective in trench warfare, but I think Germany filed a complaint saying that they violated the rules of war because they were like they were overly excessive, you know, they did over excessive damage or something like that. But also, like, during World War I, the countries were using all kinds of messed up weapons, like poisonous gases and all kinds of just chemical weapons that they were like using in the trenches and all that. So yeah, like, I mean, whether they were really inhumane, like, I don't know, who can really say? Anyway.
The action would kickstart after France won the Battle of Verdun, Verdois, and began making gains against the Germans in March, but after a short time, they got stuck again. Much more drawn-out mustard gas attacks, trench foot, massacres, and vomiting ensues throughout the entire year. Fast forward to November of 1917, and Russia spontaneously has a revolution.
There you go.
There's communists now, and they want to overthrow the Russian government. Now Russia has to fight the Ottomans, Austria-Hungary, Germany, and now they have to fight themselves too. Of course, nobody can fight in Siberia except for Russia during the winter, but Russia's already fighting with Russia, so obviously Russia does not stand a chance. In December, Russia capitulates. They pull out of the war, but they end up paying a massive exit fee.
Oh yeah.
Signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, Russia loses Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Livonia, Lithuania, Finland, Poland, Belarus, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, 25% of their population, 90% of their coal industry, and they pay 6 million German marks for.
Yeah, that is a lot. And all that lost territory was one of the main reasons as to why the Soviet Union tried to reclaim a lot of them during the events of World War II. Like, definitely the tension from losing all the stuff in World War I spilled over. So, yeah, let's keep going.
Damages. Quickly, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottomans rush in to occupy the surrendered territories. Even though Russia as a whole had already surrendered, these territories were still not entirely calmed down since the surrender, and small battles would still be taking place. As a result, it took most of the Central Powers' troops to secure this land. Because of this, they were even weaker on every other active front. If you think this would make the US think twice about trying to fight Germany, who just capitulated a giant bear not long ago, then you would be wrong. In January of 1918, the US President Woodrow Wilson outlines what is called the 14 Points, a set of principles that could be put into place after the war to ensure peace will remain in Europe and that further conflict over basically the same things would be avoided.
Okay, whoa. Before the United States got involved, there were also other parts of the world, that were at war, like all the colonies in Africa and parts of Asia. And I know Japan was also in the war, and they took over a lot of islands that Germany controlled in the Pacific. This video is a little long, so I'm gonna split it into 2 parts. I love it so far. Any subject that's taught with Countryballs automatically becomes more fun. So yeah, I am looking forward to continue it in part 2, and I will see you then. Peace out, guys.